Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you are subscribed to the Substack DaftOnDraft.football, where you will get access to all of these charts on Google Drive for every quarterback in the class, access to insider information on the Discord channel, film rooms every single week, live chartings every single week, big boards, positional rankings, more and more. So make sure you are tuned in. Welcome back into another mock draft edition of the Daft on Draft podcast, presented by FanDuel. As always, Corey and James here. We broke down instant reactions to the national championship yesterday. We are doing mock draft today. Tomorrow we'll have Daft or Draft, a nice little hot takey episode. We haven't had one in a little while, so we're getting this week all mapped out here before we head out to Frisco, Texas. But James, welcome back in. Are you ready to get rolling?
Ready to get rolling. Caught up on the national championship tape, and there's officially no new tape to watch until bowl season, All-Stars, I guess.
Yeah, no new tape at all. And then I don't know how you feel. All-Star tape doesn't really move me, like move players on my board. Like if I see something from a guy in an all-star rep, I'll be like, okay, do I see that on tape? But if I go back and I still don't see it on tape, then it's like, okay, I'm not gonna move him up to my board at all. Like it's not gonna cost too much.
It's always a go back to the tape thing as opposed to like blindly changing the grades.
Mm-hmm.
There are usually players where going into it, like there's specific things that I want to see, especially the one-on-one positions if they're coming from a low level of competition. Obviously going to weight the Bulls a lot heavier. And I mean, I think just in general level of competition, and like if maybe a corner isn't asked to play man coverage, or like an edge rusher never really gets one-on-one opportunities, outside the tackle, that sort of thing, will definitely have a heavier weighting. But in general, I agree with you.
Yeah, even to like some of the one-on-ones, like the wide receiver DB ones, man. Oh, there's a lot of times I'm like, oh, I don't want to watch this. They're just running TikTok routes. Like they're just.
I'm pretty much only like raising DBs from that, and lowering receivers.
Yeah, last year I had a video that had like 1 million impressions on Twitter because I clicked up all of these one-on-ones from these receivers, and they're just all like dancing off the line of scrimmage. So many wasted steps, so much wasted movement. It's like, this is not gonna work. And if you go back and look at the receivers who were doing it, there's like none of them were drafted before day 3, and a lot of them were late round picks.
Right.
So yeah. All right, but let's dive into this mock draft here. This is really easy. Up at the top, of course, with the Raiders here. I'm taking odds. James taking evens. The Raiders aren't passing on a quarterback sitting at 1 until they pass on a quarterback at 1. So until they trade out of that position, it's for Fernando Mendoza to the Raiders until further notice.
Yeah, that's kind of the free space this year. So the Jets are tricky because for me, I could justify Arvell Reese. I could justify Reuben Bain Jr. David Bailey, after just taking Will McDonald, even though it's a different front office, I wonder, because I mean, McDonald's still on the roster, obviously, so that's a little bit redundant. Man, it's hard to see Bain going second because of the measurables, but I mean, he's been dominant in the playoffs.
Yeah. I was gonna say, well, Aiden Hutchinson went second with 32-inch arms, but we're talking sub 31 here. So
yeah, I'm gonna go Sonny Styles, just best player available. Still a position of need, but not in love with taking a linebacker second overall.
No, I released my updated top 50 today after all of the players went back to school and caught up on some tape, and Sonny Styles still number 1 on my board. So I don't hate it, but again, in this class, like last time we did a mock draft, we're struggling by the time we got to pick 3. Now that Dante Moore's gone back to school, we're struggling by pick 2. So
yeah,
having a lot of fun here. All right, speaking of Arizona Cardinals now on the clock at 3, I'm just gonna keep the Arizona kid at home. They've gotten some good production out of Michael Wilson. They have not out of Marvin Harrison. I think Marvin Harrison obviously gets more time, but I think you could add another firepower to that, another weapon to that offense. And maybe we can even talk ourselves into like maybe Jeremiah Love is just going to go way earlier than we think because of this too. I don't think 3, but I think we're sitting to the point now. It's like if there's nothing else to take this high on the board, just take the best available playmaker. And so that's what I'm gonna kinda do here. We're just gonna roll with the Arizona State kid, staying local in Arizona here. We're gonna go Jordan Tyson.
I like it. So I am pretty solid at this point that I want David Bailey for the Titans. So that's where I'm going to go. Heading into the year was a 2 down player. He's kind of evolved into a 2.5 down player where I think he is solid on early downs. But if you've got somebody better for, base personnel packages, obviously you would want him in there and winning with power a lot more this year.
All right. New York Giants. I feel like this is just the default Carnell Tate slot. I wanna try to figure out something different than that. I think they're probably okay with Tyrone Tracy, Cam Skattebo, whatever the feedback is on Scattaboo's ankle early in the season. So I don't think this is a Jeremiah Love spot. Even though I could see Mara saying, "You lost me Saquon, go get me his replacement." I could see him getting a little antsy like that. I don't think that's gonna happen here. Again, Jermon McCoy would be my top corner. I don't know if a corner who hasn't played all season is going top 5.
You know what's something interesting about Jermon McCoy? I was listening to Todd McShay's
Mhm.
podcast
Yeah.
that they released last night, and he said that Jermon McCoy has decided not to participate in Senior Bowl. Like is fully healthy and chose not to participate in the Senior Bowl, which is man, I feel like if you're just kind of resting on your 2024 tape and you're passing up opportunities to compete after a year off, I feel like that's pretty worrisome for him, like being a top 5 pick.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. He still goes first round, I think, especially in this class, but that's fascinating to me. Um, we've I would say it sounds threatening to a young man, so I was gonna say we better, but I think from an analyst perspective, from like a need to see something perspective, like we better see him on the field in Indianapolis doing something. Like
Yeah.
that's not even competition. That's just like getting out and moving. Um, so I don't think I'm gonna go there. Illuminor is a free agent after the season, so I could go Moe Noah, I could go Fano. Moe Noah kind of fits the Jermaine Illuminor body type more than Fano does. But I think that uh, it's hard to say now, right? Because John Harbaugh has final say of the roster, so you never know if he wants to keep guys that Shane has on roster or if he wants to get rid of them. I'm gonna again take a BPA approach here. I think I'm gonna go Arvell Reese. We got either a linebacker here, a guy who can get you some pressure off the edge as well, give you some Sam looks. I know they have good pass rushers. I know they just drafted Abdul Carter. I don't feel great about continuing to stack defensive talent here, but at least you get a second level defender here to make some plays for the Giants defense here.
That was nice of you to leave Carnell Tate for the Cleveland Browns. Easy pick there.
Yeah, that's very easy for Browns fans out there. The Commanders. So the Commanders could go a variety of ways here. They just drafted a tackle last time out. Their defense is putrid. I think this. Oh, would Dan Quinn get the most out of a Ruben Bain type guy when his pass rushers have been historically more explosive and bendy? This would have been a good Arvell respot if I hadn't taken him at 5. I'm gonna go. Dan Quinn has gotten the most out of these safeties, like, and gotten them paid, who can just get after the football. I think this is a Caleb Down spot. I think this is a Caleb Down spot here. Upgrade the third level of that secondary in Washington. We're gonna go Downs to Washington here.
Nice, nice, nice. So if Peter Woods had a better season, I would feel great taking him here to the Saints. Too early for Caleb Banks, Lee Hunter, Ahmad Moten, I think. Could be Makai Lemon.
Mhm.
Could also go with an edge and Ruben Bain. I think I am going to go with Bain. Probably not going to get this level of edge talent. At 8, like it's a steal to be able to get that in this class. So I think really good value there.
Yeah. Moving 9 to the Chiefs now. I think this it's just one position difference. I think I think this is a pretty decent Peter Wood spot. It's a
Yeah.
sneaky Jeremiah Love spot. They also need wide receiver talent, so it could be a Mekhi Lemon spot as well. But like the Chiefs are overly obsessed with these wide receivers who are good with the football in their hands after the catch and have a pretty shallow A dot. So I don't love the idea of adding Lemon into a wide receiver with like Rasheed Rice if he ends up playing, and Xavier Worthy and all of these other guys who are just like yak merchants already, or like very shallow route tree guys.
Yeah.
So I don't love that fit in the room. I am gonna go Peter Woods here. Their defensive interior outside of Chris Jones is putrid. Chris Jones is getting older. This is the Peter Woods spot for me.
So after setting up a couple nice picks for me, you took the guy I was going to take. I don't think interior offensive line would be a pick at 10. Definitely want to go defense here. We got Caleb Downs off the board.
Mhm.
Man, this is tough. Do we know if Ahmad Moten's in this class? Because I'm considering pulling the trigger here on Ahmad
We
Moten.
don't know yet. We don't know yet. I had a scout tell me that he thinks he's going back to school, but we don't know yet. Yeah.
Okay, I'll pass on him then. What do you think here? Do you think
Um.
I'm going Caleb
I
Banks? I'm going Caleb Banks
okay.
at 10. Everyone else seems to be a lot lower on him, or I think me and you are see pretty eye to eye, but he is 13th on my board. Just coming back for a couple games and that verification that he's fully healthy was really enough for me to just go off of the 2024 tape.
Yeah, he's 18 on my board, so not too big of a
Yep.
reach here for me either. So the Dolphins. So the Dolphins just hired Jeff Halfley. We don't have an offensive coordinator there yet, so it's hard to tell what scheme they're going with, and that would be the determining factor of which right tackle I would draft here. I think I could make an assumption that with his NFL connections being predominant, like coming from Green Bay, and that's a McVay Shanahan kind of disciple offense there, if he's pulling a connection from Green Bay over, I think we can assume that's the offense that they might run. But until they have an offensive coordinator, we really don't know. But if that is the assumption we're making, then the assumption would be that I'm going to draft Spencer Fano here to fit that scheme over CC
Nice.
Moinoa. So we're going to go Fano to the Dolphins at 11.
All right, we need to take Jeremiah Love
Yeah.
like where he is probably going to be taken for once. So I'm gonna bite the bullet and go Jeremiah Love to the Cowboys. With all these teams, it's like, I feel like they could address other spots, but we're trying to predict what's going to happen. So I'll go
Mhm.
Jeremiah Love.
All right. So that leaves the Los Angeles Rams on the clock here. We haven't drafted a corner yet. And the corner class is deeper than the offensive tackle class. I could go Jermon McCoy, who would be the best player on my board, but do I take a shot on the corner depth later in the first round and take the offensive tackle here? And I think I am going to do that. And we're going to go Caleb Lomu to the Rams
Would
here.
would you so you would take Lomu over Freeling?
Yes, right now. Yeah. It's negligible. Lomu's 14, Freeling's 21 on my board. So, yeah.
Makes sense. Is Mekhi Lemon available? Yes, he is.
Hmm.
Let's go Mekhi Lemon to the Bengals. Get
You mean
a
Ravens?
or yeah, to the Ravens, excuse me.
Yep. All right. They've got crossers all day with those guys.
Oh yeah.
Day Flowers and Lemon there. All right, Buccaneers. This is a fun Kenyon Sadiq landing spot if they opt to go in that direction early on. They desperately need a linebacker. Would you consider 15 too early for Josiah Trotter? I probably would.
Yeah.
They also need a corner real bad. This would be a Jermon McCoy spot. I'm gonna go Jermon McCoy here to the Buccaneers. That's a fun landing spot for me.
It's the most he's fallen.
Yeah.
I think in a single mock that we've done.
I feel like this is probably the more realistic range for him
Yeah.
though, given the he has
We're
one
both a lot higher on him, so he's like
yeah.
always at the top of our boards. Jets, we took Sonny Styles with the first pick.
Mhm.
Correct. All right, let's try to get some positional value here. We are set on the offensive line. Um, Corner or receiver, I'm going to go I think you could justify either, but Casey Conception is my highest graded of the two positions, so I will take him.
The amount of short area burst and short area quickness in that wide receiver room
Yeah.
between him and Garrett Wilson. All right. Back up here. Last time I think I had the Lions and I had them drafting CeCe Moinoa with the idea that Penei Sewell would switch back to his college position. And I'm tempted to do the same thing here. I could also just draft Monroe Freeling. Do we think CeCe Moinoa is falling this far come April?
I feel like Monroe Freeling goes ahead of Moanoa unless you're drafting someone specifically as an interior player and you don't have a need at tackle. My updated tackle rankings would actually be Fano, Freeling, and then Lomu. But with the Lions, they have the need on the interior, so I think Moanoa could definitely be in play.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm leaning towards as well because they do have that need at guard. You can kick him at right tackle as well. Again, I think the comp I made last time to Sewell switching to left tackle at this stage of his career is the Tristan Wirfs thing. This is what Tristan Wirfs did. So if you have got a cornerstone player, you might have to ask him to be a cornerstone player, and I think that's going to be the case here at the Lions. We're going to go Moinoa to the Lions at 17.
I'm trying to consider if I want to do something that's definitely too bold. So I'm not going to do this, but I will just shout out a potential pick if they traded down. I think trading Stooks to the Vikings would be an outstanding fit for Brian Flores' defense. Stooks has experience at safety, nickel, and outside corner. Just a really versatile chess piece. I think in this position, they would probably want to go with an outside corner.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be between Avion Terrell, Mansour Delane. Those would be the two. I think I'm going to go Terrell. I think
Yep.
he's a lot faster. He is able to get depth in his back pedal like as smoothly as you'll see for a corner. It's like I described it in my scouting report as like a repellent magnet. It's like the receiver when he runs, it's just Terrell just is so effortless maintaining that buffer, and then when he needs to close space, he's really explosive.
Yep.
So I like Terrell despite Clemson having a down year.
All right, Carolina Panthers. They just drafted 2 edges in the second round. I feel like we have this conversation every week about them. I also don't love Keldrick Falk as a fit in that scheme, and I also don't love Cassius Howe this early. So I don't think edge is the answer here. Interior defensive line is interesting. Somebody to pair up front with Derek Brown. However, Derek Brown is a big dude, and the next 3 guys we have on our defensive board are nose tackles. I don't know if pairing 2 bigger bodied dudes in that interior would be the move. And I know Derek Brown has 3 tech versatility and has pass rush upside. So like this could work in theory, right? But I feel like you want to pair Derek Brown with maybe more of a gap shooter, and that's not something we have right here in these top 3. So I don't know if I love the fit of any of those defensive tackles. I think, do I get greedy here? Give me a second. I might make a fast one here. Might pull a fast one. Who is the Panthers tight end? I know they have Jatavian Sanders. That's not stopping me from drafting Kenyon Sadiq. Oh my
Tommy
God.
Tremble.
Yeah. Okay. They could go linebacker here, but let's go best player available. Let's have some fun with this. Let's go Kenyon Sadiq to the Panthers here. You can upgrade from Jatavian Sanders. You can upgrade from Tommy Tremble. You can upgrade from Mitchell Evans. Let's go Jatavian Sanders here. Let's roll Carolina. Get Bryce another weapon if you're rolling him back next year, which they said they're going to pick up his 5th-year option. So go get him another weapon, even though you've used your past 3 first-rounders or past 2 first-rounders on weapons for him.
I like it. All right. So the Cowboys kind of had like I think 3 needs at positions that have massive drop-offs. So we addressed running back, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Jeremiah Love with the first pick. I have a hard time with Keldrick Folk here still, like even at 20. I just don't think he really upgrades the pass rush a whole lot. and I think the drop off at linebacker is a lot more steep. So I'm going to go with Josiah Trotter, even though it's a little bit early. Still is 26 on my board. I guess I just need to think of him more as a late first rounder. But
Mhm.
yeah, kind of a big drop off at linebacker after Trotter.
Yep, Trotter is 26 on my board as well. So we've got him exact same spot there. So now we roll into Pittsburgh. And the question here is, did Dylan Cook do well enough starting at left tackle down the stretch for the Steelers to commit to him in 2026? Or do they go out and do they draft a new left tackle? Because the Broderick Jones thing is done. The Broderick Jones thing is done. However, Dylan Cook played really well down the stretch for the Steelers, and I think they might have enough juice there to let him go with it another year. I don't love these wide receivers in the first round. If Chris Bell didn't tear his ACL in November, I'd feel better about pulling the trigger here to pair with DK Metcalf. They do need corner help opposite of Joey Porter Jr. Um, we don't know who their defensive coordinator is going to be, though. We don't know their defensive scheme. On paper, Mansour Delane makes a lot of sense for this team as it stands. Mansour Delane is also the best player available on my board right now. So I think we're going to go Mansour Delane here to the Steelers.
So I think this is another one where we have made pretty much the same pick in every mock draft, but I am going to go interior offensive line for the Chargers. I just am constantly seeing some of the worst protection reps
Yep.
for Justin Herbert whenever I open up Twitter. So I am going to go Vega Ioane, who has separated himself, I think, pretty clearly as guard one, unless you count Francis Monoa.
Yeah, I think I'm back to considering Francis Monoa a tackle because, like, we talk so much about how there's a surplus. So if there's a good tackle, you got to keep him a tackle. At least try him a tackle. I think there's such a low supply and demand at tackle. You got to keep him there. All right, Philadelphia Eagles. I think a lot of what they would do depends on how their free agency period goes. Do they resign Aziz Ojolari? Do they resign Jalen Phillips? Which they just traded a third round pick for Phillips, so I think they would. I don't necessarily think that they're going to draft an edge early. However, I do think that finding somebody who isn't a Dory Jackson or Mac McWilliams or Keely Ringo to play opposite of Quinyon Mitchell will be a very big priority for them. And so that lends me to throw Colton Hood out here to the Philadelphia Eagles with the 23rd pick. The most physical corner in the class, the strongest corner in the class, a little tight in the hips, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to pair Colton Hood with Quinyon Mitchell in Philadelphia.
So, who do you think the Browns head coach is going to be?
It's hard to tell. They're down to 5. If I had to guess, they're going to go with the young guy. I think their fallback is just to promote Jim Schwartz, but I can't see that happening unless like nobody else wants the job. I think they're going to take a big swing and they're going to hire the 30-year-old guy from Jacksonville, Udinsky.
Okay, so I would definitely go Monroe Freeling here.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to shout out Ty Simpson because that would be my secondary pick if I'm trying to guess what would happen. But Freeling is just clearly the best player available on my board, 18th overall. Really like the difference in hand accuracy from like week 12, week 11 on was just, I mean, outstanding. He went from a back to school grade to a first round grade in about 6 games. So Monroe Freeling to the Browns.
Love it. That's an ideal situation to land Tate and Freeling in the first round there. That would be dream. All right. So moving on to the Bears. I believe I checked last time we did a mock draft that Andrew Billings is a free agent. I don't love Austin Booker as a full-time edge rusher opposite of Montez Sweat. I like Austin Booker coming on the field in designated pass rush situations and just letting him pin his ears back. So I could get on board with Keldrick Falk as a big end opposite of Montez Sweat as well here for the Bears. That's really the only 2 options. I don't think they could take a left tackle or a left tackle if they wanted to. But they just drafted Ozzie Trapilo in the 2nd round last year. I know he just went down with that patellar tendon injury, which murks things up a little bit here. But I think what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna draft Keldrick Folk, get a big end opposite Montez Sweat in Chicago.
That's a hard front to run stretch zone on. Jeez. Um, so we end up in this situation with the Bills every mock where like their receiver room just has negative juice.
Yeah.
But then when we get to the Bills pick, it's always like Denzel Boston, who's available. Chris Bell would be my next receiver, but
Mhm.
I don't feel comfortable taking him until I know what the injury situation is, and then after that, it would be like Ted Hurst at 42 overall.
Yeah.
So I am gonna take Denzel Boston, but like
You don't
Brandon
feel good about
Bean
it?
in the presser, Bean in the presser, he's gonna tell the media like, no, we're still looking to add speed at the receiver position on day 2. So we're gonna double up at it and get maybe like a um,
A
Brennan
wide
Thompson
receiver.
out of Mississippi State or something like that to take the top off.
Love it. All right. Yeah, we're doing a draft or draft episode tomorrow, and I might throw this one out there about like the amount of trades we could see in the first round. I think we're gonna see, especially like in this like 16 to 26 section. I bet we could see a whole lot of teams shuffling around through here, especially
Yeah.
like the Bills coming up for a receiver, trying to jump like Pittsburgh or all these other teams that we've mocked Casey Concepcion to or something like that. I could see them getting antsy and coming up.
Well, by pick, let me put you on the spot. By pick 15, how many teams do you think will have first round grades available? A single first round grade? I mean, it'll be like 7
Mhm,
or 8, I feel like, like I
mhm.
think once you get halfway through the first round, there's going to be a lot of teams looking to trade back, and then it'll come down to these positions where there's depth for to determine the value or determine the demand to for teams at the back end of the first round to trade up.
Yeah, so as the exercise plays out here, and I know I'm, like, really stingy with first round grades, and I'll probably have a couple more once like, put that upside escalator in once we have some RAS data, some testing data. But by pick 15, there are 2 left on my board, and it would be Jermon McCoy and Kenyon Sadiq.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we could it could get, I guess, even up through here, like, 9 through 13 could get crazy wild too. But that takes us back to the Niners here. Um, Blake Miller would be what my eyes are drawn to here. Again, the Chris Bell ACL injury really throws me for a loop. Really throws me for a loop. I don't think they're going to go into your defensive line because they drafted 2 on day 2 last year in Alfred Morris and CJ West. The edge class drops off. I think, I mean, this value wise would be okay. I'd be okay with like Dylan Thieneman or Genesis Smith from my board's perspective. I do think we're going to go offensive tackle. I mean, by the time we're talking back here, we're talking second round value anyway. Let me see. What do they get? I know Dominic Pooney had an awful year at right guard, but they're going to give him another year. This could be a sneaky Chase Bizantis pick at left guard where they're starting Spencer Burford. I could throw Chase Bizantis out there. Um, let's go Blake Miller. Let's get a tackle. Tackles are going to get taxed like crazy because everybody needs them. Let's go Blake Miller to San Francisco.
And that leaves Caden Proctor, one lucky team who needs a tackle. Could be the Houston Texans here, looking for a lot of offensive line help, but I'm actually going to take Chase Besantis to the Houston Texans. Really, the only position that I can see working in the first round because it's like the defense is so strong. Even though you could add like a Caden McDonald, I just feel like it wouldn't be worth that early investment. And then
Mhm.
with Love off the board, you're not really taking running back. So I think it's a good bet that this pick will be offensive line.
Yep. I don't disagree with you there. So that brings us back to the Rams. First time around, I took Caleb Lomu. Part of me kind of wishes I wouldn't have waited on corner because we wiped out the corner board pretty fast. We've got Brandon Cisse here, which would be I'm lower on Cisse. He's in my top 50, but he's like 48. I know the NFL is a lot higher on the kid. They've got some pretty high marks on him. That would be my inkling here. We could go Ty Simpson if we want to get real nasty. I don't want to get real nasty right here. Um, they could double up on offensive tackles. I mean, they're starting Warren McClendon and Alaric Jackson. They just extended Alaric though, so that's not going to happen. Um, what do we got at wide receiver? This could be a shelf Chris Bell for a year kind of situation with Devontae up there.
Yeah.
And then outside of Devontae and Puka, I mean, they've got Kanata Mumfield, Jordan Whittington, Tutu Atwell. So like the depth is really thin there beyond those two. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna draft Chris Bell as a draft and stash kind of situation for the Rams.
I was considering doing that for the Patriots if you didn't. So I wish you hadn't taken Blake Miller because I would love to take a tackle and then slide everybody inside. Move Will Campbell to guard, Jared Wilson to center. That is obviously not an option. My highest graded edge is Malachi Lawrence. And with Shrine Bowl rolling up, I mean, I've got Malachi Lawrence 39 on my board. So I'm taking him 30 to the Patriots.
Wow. That's a big one. That's a big one. He has 149 on PFF's board. Malachi Lawrence. All right. The juice would have been too much of a squeeze there for me, but I respect it. I respect it. I did this in last week's mock. Oh no, you already took Josiah Trotter.
Yep.
You did. Yep. This would be a great Jamari Johnson spot if the kid wouldn't have gone back to school, but he did. They just extended Wattenberg, so they don't need a center. I think linebacker is a solid option for the Broncos here. I'm trying to make sure there's not like that Joker type player. Jeremy Bernard would be the closest, but he's a Joker that runs like a 4.6, 4.7, so or a 4.56, 4.57, something like that. So I don't know if I love that in the first round. Let's go CJ Allen here. I think that's just the easiest thing to do here for the Broncos here. Upgrade that second level, get CJ Allen in there.
All right. So at 32, we've got the Seahawks, 2.5 point favorites on FanDuel. They've been pretty dominant in the postseason, so we're going to roll with them at 32. I do want to shout out one more pick that I'm not going to make, but it would be a really cool idea. I think pairing Traden Stukes with Devin Witherspoon and Nick Emanwari would just be an unreal combination of positionless defensive weapons. That would obviously be overkill, though, and I think the actual pick is pretty obvious. We're going to take Emmanuel Pregnon, guard out of Oregon, to replace Anthony Bradford.
Yeah, Anthony Bradford is the sore thumb until he's not the sore thumb anymore. So that pick makes a lot of sense to me. A lot of sense. All right. That caps us out here in this first round, James. Per the usual conversation, shout out a couple that you love.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite pick's got to be Mendoza to the Raiders. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, man, Chris Bell to the Rams, the draft and stash. And then I think like we were texting, we need to do a 2-round mock, like split it into 2 episodes so that we can kind of carry out team building strategies. I will say, like, we've made the pick before, but if the Bills went Denzel Boston and then came back and got a burner with their second pick, I think that could be a really good combo. So
yeah, I like that too. You couldn't have drafted better for the Browns, as I've said.
Yeah.
Again, Monroe Freeling is going to go earlier than 24 by the time we get to April.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have a hard time seeing him back there. Mansour Lane to Pittsburgh is a good one. Jermon McCoy to Tampa is a good one.
Kenyon Sadiq to the Panthers.
I like that one too, man. And there's some fun Kenyon Sadiq landing spots. Like, there are some fun ones out there for sure. On Honestly, Casey Concepcion to the Jets is a lot of fun too. Just
Yeah.
get dudes who can exploit blind spots and get open with Garrett Wilson and Kenyon Sadiq there, and Casey Concepcion there. That'd be a lot of fun too. All
Yeah, I
right.
mean, like comebacks. If you're just running mirrored comebacks, it's like you don't even need to check if they're going to get open. Just throw it with anticipation.
Yep. Yep. 100%. All right. I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Jets, but in theory, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. Well, until next time, we'll be back with a daft or draft for tomorrow's episode, getting through some hot takes, and then we'll be off to Shrine. We'll get one more episode out as well before the end of the week there as well. But until next time, this has been another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast. See ya.